Hey everybody, Dave Puts here from JKB Holdings. Alongside me, Mr. Nathan Turner.
Good day.
Hello, hello. Gorgeous day in the afternoon. We've been hitting 50s and 60s out here in Jersey. It's been fabulous, I would say. I think for us it's a nice change, but December's on its way. How are things up there?
We actually we got that same warm spell, but for me it's disaster. We had about a half an inch of snow on the ground and we lost it all yesterday. So it's all gone. The
Oh my
ski hill's
God.
out making snow still though. So they actually opened 2 days ago on the 1st. So looking forward to hitting the hill here next
Yeah,
week.
cool. Do you snowboard a lot or ski a lot or?
I snowboard, yeah. So I've had a season's pass forever, but so I go usually it's really fun actually. I'll go first thing in the morning, go on the hill for an hour or so, get all the fresh stuff before everyone gets tracked out, and then
Yeah.
come back. I'm in the office by 10:30 and nobody knows the difference.
Nice, nice. So I know up there you guys get cold and cold, whatever, but right now you guys are probably in the warmest time you've been in a while. Does that make it difficult for in our investing world to like not want to go outside with the kids and enjoy like just that extended fall?
Yeah, the extended fall was really nice. It was interesting. It was a little bit weird because of the extended fall, we also had later colors,
Hmm.
which is something we noticed. We go to the hill here often enough, and took some friends out, and it was second week in October, but the leaves hadn't even started changing yet, or
Wow.
middle of October, somewhere in there, and hardly anything. But the year previous, most everything was already done by that time. So it's interesting. It's weird to see how even just a few weeks makes a difference.
Cool. So fourth quarter has, I don't know about you, my man, when you get a chance to talk too much before this, just came like a storm. Between deals, I know a lot of people were excited with the 903 assets. We've had tapes thrown at us, deals accepted, things are just abnormal. How has it been for you?
Yeah, same. I've got a bunch of new tapes that I wasn't necessarily expecting. Yes and no, just because it is fourth quarter. We see that a lot. So it's fun to see. Trying to get all the money together I can to make some purchases here.
Get our money flowing. It's
Yeah.
interesting because all year has been kind of a weird situation, and deals being accepted right now. People are trying to get things off the book by the end of the year. We got to leverage that, right? If they want that
Yeah.
off the books, we got to make sure it works for us. But that also means, nice little segue here, that means you got to maintain what you have going on to make sure it's stable or everything is, the I's are dotted and T's are crossed as much as possible. So you can make that transition and focus on new purchases.
Yeah, I noticed, and I wonder about you because you don't do this full time, so I think you're probably even more so than me. But I could get up to about 20 notes, not so bad. I could do that, no problem. By the time I was up to about 50 notes, I didn't have any kind of CRM, any kind of tracking tool or anything, and it was chaos. Like I could barely manage everything. I had spreadsheets with color coding. So red is like I got to do something about it immediately, and orange is it's urgent but not pressing, and it was crazy. And so I finally got myself a CRM tool, something that helps me organize everything, and now it's a breeze.
But the problem is when you get to CRMs, you don't know what is good, what's not good, what's struggling, and your CRM is not what you do. You're an
Yeah,
investor.
that's it.
So it's interesting that we struggle with understanding this stuff because at the end of the day, we don't know what works, what doesn't work, what is for us, what's not for us. And I think that as investors, we fake it and we make it a lot too often because without it, what do we do? Right?
Yeah. Well, and even 5 years ago, there were no note specific platforms. They just didn't exist. It's too new of a world to have
Yeah.
somebody build a system.
Yeah. And there's been systems you build over time and you kind of say, listen, if I restarted, I would do something completely different.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes where you get a product that you come in that Rich is going to show us that it's like, whoa, I should look into this as an investor. I've been doing a certain way for so long. This makes it 10 times easier. So
Right.
without further ado, Richard, welcome on our Friday call. I appreciate you jumping in here and joining us as other fellow note investors that are watching intently, can you share a little about who you are, where you came from, how did you get involved with notes, a little bit of your background?
Sure. Awesome. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
You
And I
bet.
totally felt your pain regarding having the right systems in place as I was trying to scale my note business. I started in note investing about 4 years ago, came from big corporate world, software engineering background, still have a day job, but decided I wanted to get into notes to augment my retirement and try to get out of the corporate world a little bit earlier. Right. I knew when I started that I was going to try to go after quite a few notes, and I had a lot of friends with money, and so I wasn't going to just be happy with 2 or 3 notes. It was funny. I bought my first one about 4 years ago. I still can tell you the number of square feet, the address of the place, the borrower's last name. I can tell you everything about that asset. I don't need any information systems in order to keep track of that particular note. I just know it like back in my head, back in my hand. But as I was starting to scale, I quickly saw that I was going to need a good system to be able to keep track of things. So I started building one, and I started with a baseline CRM called Zoho. I got that up and running, had a full system up and running on that. And I was talking with some note investors who were more into the environment than I was, and they said they were using Podio, and that was a much more extensible, broader system with lots of different capabilities. So I switched everything over to Podio about 3.5 years ago, and I've been on that platform ever since. I decided I was in a note conference, Eddie Speed's note conference, about 3.5 years ago or so, and he broke us all up into these different tables, 10 people on each table, and said, go talk about what problems you're having in a group, and then come back and tell all of us as a group, report out how things are going and where you guys think your biggest challenges are. And over and over and over again, what everybody was talking about, anybody who had more than 1 or 2 notes, what they were talking about was, I just got too much going on and it's chaos and I'm not making good decisions. And this business is about making money move fast. It's about velocity of money. It's how you make money, right? And I'm bogged down in all these dumb little things and chasing things around and looking the same information up 14 times a week. I'm just wasting time and not efficient. And I thought, that's weird. How come they're having these problems? It's not that hard. And then I remembered, oh yeah, whoops, I've got this CRM that I'm using. I got this whole solution that I built. Why don't I find a way to make it available for everybody else?
Yeah.
That's kind of what got me started.
So what is Podio?
Podio is a workflow management solution. Basically a website on your cell phone or on your laptop or your desktop, whatever, where you can go in there and you can customize forms to match the scenario that you're working. If you're selling cars, you can have a car form. If you're buying and selling notes, you can have a note form, and so on and so forth. And you basically can build up a business management system that allows you to manage your workflow, right? And so I spent hundreds of hours building up that workflow, putting automation in place to be able to scrape servicer websites and pull their information down so I don't have to go to their websites and get their information, generating documents, automatically generating the mortgage and the lunge and assignments and all those different things, doing right signature, automating all that stuff so that people don't have to go out. I don't have to go out and use 4 or 5 or 6 different software packages to get my day job done. I'm not bouncing around in 14 spreadsheets and sticky notes and going to my fireproof safe to find some information. I've got everything right there with me.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So is your system now then, is it based off of Podio or is it from ground up?
Yeah. I've debated on walking away from Podio, but the reality is Podio is owned by Citrix. They've got an uptime that's amazing. Their servers are super high, robust. They've got great backup systems in place. There's a ton of stability that comes with relying on a third party for all that infrastructure. And then all I do is put on front of that a user front end for the node environment, and then all the back end automation to be able to move data around and make things available quickly for all of us.
That's really interesting.
So with that, so if you're basic beginner note investor, what are some of the things you learned over time that was difficult to maintain, and some of the things that you struggle with where you just you hit your head against the wall, or you heard other people like us saying, man, I struggle with this.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you struggle with in the beginning that this system kind of helped you manage?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I really do believe my system, a system is necessary when you get beyond a few notes. If you're just going to own 1 or 2 notes, you can do that in your head because, things are pretty simple and you just know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
As you start to get beyond 3 or 4 or 5, you start losing track of who the contractor was on that asset, who's the servicer, who's the lawnmower, because these notes don't just stay, unless you're lucky, they don't just stay performing and the servicer takes care of everything for you, right? And even in and also then if you believe that making money in this business is about moving your money through it, right? And not just sitting on it long term, sitting on a pile of performing notes that are just paying. That's one piece of the business model here. But if you believe it's about moving notes, then you get into you have a lot of delays, and every delay costs you basically time, which costs you money, right? And so if a servicer puts a note in the portal and you don't see it for 45 days, you just lost all that time.
Yeah.
If you don't see it for 10 days, is it that big a deal? I don't know, right? So my system pulls that data down automatically every day and notifies me when there's a change. So I know right away when something's changed, I can go in and keep that thing moving. Same thing's true with law firms and people like that. All of the people that we work with, that we expect to manage our business for us, right? Need to be poked. They don't do it for us out of the goodness of their heart, right? They need us to go and ask them how things are going. And so keeping track of what's important and what's coming up next is critical.
Yeah, and I think you're a good point. We have to manage our managers, right? We have to manage our servicers, manage our attorneys, follow up with attorneys.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're doing it on purpose, it's just what it is. It's just our system. We work harder for our assets than anyone else.
Absolutely right.
So when I ask, like, who's your best servicer in one of the groups? And it's like, it depends. And, it's like when you get started, you hate the word depends. And then when you get involved, you say, I understand why it depends now. Because it comes down to it. It's really about, what works for you. What do you have to manage? There are services out there that will do everything for you, but you still have to maintain what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Your attorneys are just as good as you are. And the problem is if you don't catch up, hey, and a lot of people say, listen, how do I feel bad about reaching out to my attorney and reminding them? Just say, hey, listen, I'm just looking to follow up. So these systems, as Nathan said before, when you get a ton of assets or even a ton of problems on a deal, you need something to tell you this deal has this coming up and when.
That's
and
right.
Almost a to-do list, but also know who you reach out to, what email thread was it in?
Right.
Because as we all know, if you reply to the wrong thread, it can get lost easily.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's do ourselves a favor here. So back up, we work with Podio. It's an online system, right? So you can get on your phone, you can get on your computer, you can get anywhere you want to get it to.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the system allows you to upload these assets, which is all confidential, right?
That's course. Yeah.
When we got into it, is it something that is cookie cutter and it's clear, or are you able to kind of manipulate things and change things and adapt things to what fits you?
That's a great question. Yeah. So I find there's two primary classes of folks in this space. There are the tinkerers like myself who love to go muck with everything and change everything and have exactly the fields I want and exactly the spots I want. And I'll invest lots of hours in that kind of activity, right? When I'm doing that, of course, I'm not making money, right? But there are people like me that love to tinker. And then there's the folks that just want to make money and they want to run deals and they want to talk to people and they want to have velocity of money. Those folks shouldn't be wasting their time with Podio or Acuity Center or Salesforce or whatever. Pick the CRM of your flavor. They shouldn't be wasting time fine tuning a CRM. They should just go buy one, use something that's off the shelf. And now, like Nathan was saying earlier, 3 or 4 years ago, there wasn't any software out there for note investors. There was a couple of really big packages. If you were a big boy, you could get some really fancy stuff, but there was nothing on, $20, $30, $40 a month. Nothing like that existed back then. Right. And so with that low end price point and keeping it really simple, the average investor can get in, get their data done, and then go off and hang out with their family or go mountain bike riding or go do whatever else that they wanted to go do. And they're not wasting time also building out a CRM, because we can all do it, right? Most of us are engineers that come into the note business because we have this mental, ability to attack problems, right? But is that the right space for you to apply your time? I think is the question I ask folks. If it is, great, go for it. If you want to go figure out how to automate CRMs, I'm all in. I'll help you figure it out.
Yep.
So can you tell me what the difference? I use Pipedrive. So I'm curious, what's the difference between Pipedrive and Podio?
There's no difference in any CRM. It's which buttons are in which locations and how you use them. What it comes down to is how are you using the CRM, right?
Okay.
What features do you need and how easy can you put them in place? And then how much time do you have to invest to put those features in place? For example, if you wanted to send automated emails out of Pipedrive or out of Podio, the baseline system doesn't support that, but you can build up around it and you can package everything together and you can make it send emails or text messages or voicemails or letters or postcards. You can make it generate documents. You can make it connected to QuickBooks. You can hook all these things up however you want. Each one of those activities takes you, pick a number, 2 to 20 hours, right? And that's time that we are spending tinkering instead of investing. Right. And so it's just a matter of what you enjoy doing, I think, because nothing's wrong with Pipedrive, nothing's wrong with Podio or Salesforce. They're all great systems.
But the one that you've done is built off of a system specifically for notes. And like you say, that's the problem with the Pipedrive or something like that. I had to get help to get it set up because I don't know how to work it. And so I had a good friend of mine help me set it up.
Yeah. And you know, you probably spent a few hours and a few of his hours, and that's all good, right? And you've got something that's functional. Do you have something that's really great? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen your solution yet.
Sure.
I've been working on mine for 4 years and I spend, 40 hours a week on it. It's fine-tuned. It's awesome. But it's not necessary for the average investor. If you're doing more than 10 or 15 notes, I think you should come look at what I'm doing and just see if it's better than what you got. I think you'd be pretty pleasantly surprised. That said, I can build it. I can take this off of Podio and I can go put it on Pipedrive tomorrow. And, within a couple of weeks, I could have the same solution running on Pipedrive.
So let's ask a question I know that been asked before. We get an email in the system. Am I importing the information from the email to the system? How does that work for those people who are getting emails from all different fields and I got to import it into it? Or is it actually integrated with your email that it tracks it because you're working inside the system?
Yeah. Okay. So email is an interesting topic, right? I'm not a fan of putting volume email into a website, right? Except Gmail is awesome at it. They've built an awesome website for managing email traffic, and Outlook, Microsoft Outlook has done a great job of managing email traffic. Taking Pipedrive or Salesforce or any of the other tools and trying to manage email through a tool that's not built for email, to me, is clunky at best. I've never seen a really pretty solution. There are guys out there that are doing a good job of it, but it's really hard. What I do, I have two solutions primarily. If I'm working on an asset, right, I want to send the lawyer an email, I go to my Outlook and I send them an email from there, right? If I want to have a dialogue with one of my note customers, right, one of my note rules customers, my software customers, I do that out of my help desk, which is another Podio workspace, and all the dialogue with that person is through the Podio interface. There's an email button. I click on that. It sends them an email. The responses come back into Podio. Everything's in and out of Podio. It's all managed nicely inside of there. But that's a low volume email system, right? If I want to do lawyers and lawnmowers and contractors and servicers and everything, having all that funnel through an asset in Podio doesn't make a lot of sense. Pulling all those dialogues together into one long list is not a pretty way to do things. It's much, much better to have folders in Outlook or flags in Gmail, right? And manage it inside of a high volume, well-funded email system. That's my position. There are those out there on bigger pockets that say you have to use Pipedrive because it's got great email integration. The email integration is crap, right? Compared with Gmail and Outlook. Right. So sorry, if you want crappy email systems, go use Pipedrive or Podio. They can do it. If you want good, high volume, easy to maintain and manage email, you just need to use a good email system. That's my thinking.
Gotcha.
I'm sure I pissed somebody off out there because they never in Pipedrive, but whatever.
So when you're dealing with an asset list, what happens to notify you that something's due?
Good question.
How do you get notified?
There's two primary ways I get messages out of Podio or out of Note Rules. Number one, let's say David Putz pings me on an asset and I get that notification. On my phone will vibrate because the Podio app goes off, and I'll go look at it and I'll go, oh yeah, it's a message from David Putz. He wants me to get some information. I'll click on that and I can go type in on that one, or I can run over to my computer if it's going to be a longer session, and I can do it over there as well. That's one way that messages or notifications come in. The other thing that I do, my to-do list, if you will, my what do I need to work on right now, is just an ordered list of all of my assets. Let's say I've got 30 assets in my portfolio. It's an ordered list ordered by the next due date on each asset.
Yeah.
So today I'm working on 123 Main Street. I've got 15 minutes. I go in there, I check on the taxes, everything's good. And before I close the asset in my CRM, I just update two boxes. One is the next step. What is the next thing I need to do on this thing? 2 weeks from Tuesday, I need to contact Daniel Singer to find out what's going on with a lawyer. And I put the date in there, 2 weeks from Tuesday. Now, when I close that asset, when I come back tomorrow to look at my portfolio, that asset is down at the bottom of the list because it's not due for 2.5 weeks. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to go figure out what's next on it. And I don't know about you, my memory's not perfect. And when I get 30 assets, I don't know when the due dates are on each of those 30 assets.
Yeah.
So that simple step of just updating what's my next step and when is it due, every time I touch an asset, I do that. And that way it's all, that list is always in an ordered list. And then I just check that.
So how do you handle servicing notes and stuff like that? You know, that's something that's a, struggle for some people. How do you handle pay history and things like that? How is that integrated into the system?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. So I have most of the major servicers integrated in. So SN, FCI, NAM, there's another big one, Allied. They're all integrated in. Basically, you provide your login and credential information into the system. It's all password protected. It then goes out to the site, pulls the information down. I pull down all the current collateral information around pay history and comments and unpaid balance, those values, pull them down, and it all gets put into the same form with your asset. So in the asset form, you have all your different fields regarding the asset. But in there, there's by default, I pull the last 6 comments and the last 6 payments. And so if we can pull more than that, you just change a value. But by default, I pull 6. And so you can quickly glance at it and you can see, okay, the last payment came in. It was November 1st. Today's the 3rd of December. Okay, fine. It's probably not quite due yet, right? But then when that payment comes in tomorrow, you're going to get a notification on your phone saying payment came in on 123 Main Street. So you know things are up to date, right? Because it's pulling that information daily for you. Same thing on the comments. When the servicer goes out and says, hey, taxes are due and you're getting close to the delinquent date, what do you want to do about that? When they put that comment in once a day, you're going to get a notification that that comment was put in and there's something to go do at the servicer.
So does it tell when something's due? Like if a servicer make a comment, you never know if it's something you have to do or just data. Does it ping you every time a service note pops up? How does that work?
So yeah, so much like we all have iPhones or Android, right? We have these apps on our phone, right? And each one's got a little number in the top right corner that shows you how many things are due, right? You can ignore those or you can keep them wiped out or anywhere in between, right? Podio's app is no different on your phone and on the desktop or on your browser. There's a little icon in the top right corner that shows you how many notifications you have. And for me, when I'm active in my business and I'm trying to get a lot done, I watch that little indicator. And when it goes off, I'll glance at it to see what happened. If I ignore it, I miss all the notifications. That's fine. I can go back and look at it 2 weeks from Tuesday when I'm ready to work on the business again. But that's basically what's happening is those indicators are going off. There's a long list of notifications. I can clean them all out when I'm done with them, and I can keep track of them when I want to stay on top of it.
Cool. So I'm just going to copy some comments and your questions. So I think it would be really good if we can kind of show some of the system features. As Cindy asked a question regarding, how does this compare to a program called Really Flow and whatnot. So if you could you share your screen, show us a little bit more about what? Awesome.
Yeah, and we can do a side-by-side comparison of different software out there. I've gone and looked at all the different packages that are out there, the different CRMs that are available. You guys able to see my screen here?
Not yet.
Oops, I didn't hit share. That's why.
There it is.
All right. So all the CRMs have the basic capability of creating forms and then organizing forms and linking forms together. That's basically what a CRM does. And then a lot of them you add email and messaging and other things like that on top of it to be able to give you more features. And then you can keep going from there. What this form here is an asset form. This is basically an asset is a note or a rental or a private money loan, right? An asset is a real estate related item. And most of the fields in here apply to most of the different types of assets. The first field is the address, because with real estate, we care about the location of the property,
Yes.
right? So simple little address. I have a little bit of summary information here at the top that basically is summarizing a lot of the fields down lower in the form. And these are the fields that people give me feedback that they want to have at the top. They don't want to have to scan down the form to find them, right? So what kind of note is it? What's the loan number? What position is the lien? What's the current P&I? What stage is the asset in? When did I purchase it? Who's the borrower? Who was the investor on the asset? Who's the servicer? When was the last payment received and how much was it? And then what's the current unpaid balance? Right, this is all updated automatically on every asset. Once you get your initial data in and you hook up the servicing data, all the fields are updated for you.
Cool.
So, I've got a picture of the asset. Of course, you can have more than one. Here's my next step and due date, right? The concept I was talking about earlier. You just come in here and say, next step is talk with servicer. Let's talk with let's talk with legal about foreclosure options. And we'll come back in here. We're going to be out through Christmas. We'll come and ping them on the 6th of January. Cool. Right. So just something along like that. Now, when I close this, the sorted list, January 6th is going to be below the next item due. And it'll just, when January comes along, January 2nd, I'm done with holidays. I'll come in here and look at this and I'll go, oh, okay, this guy's due January 6th. I better go take a look and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. Right. And you get some basic information, right? Everything you're going to see in this form is just stuff that, of course, a note investor would want to have at their fingertips when they're thinking about their notes. Yeah. Right. It took me 5 to 10 minutes per asset to plug this information in. If I've got more than a few assets, then I'll upload a spreadsheet, pull the whole tape in all at one shot, right? But once the information's in there, I don't have to go out and look for it. I can click on the asset, I can drop right in and find exactly what I'm looking for. It's organized like you might expect. There's information about the note, information about the asset, information about who owns it, right? Which entity did you use to purchase it? That's important because later on we're going to be able to run reports and see this entity has 14 assets and they've got $500,000 invested. This entity's got 3 assets with 200,000 invested, right? And we can then figure out, ROI, and we can look at, profit and loss, things like that once we have that information sorted by entity. We also, I like to keep track of, sorry, go ahead.
That's cool. That's great, because the last time when we report, and it's sometimes just too difficult because you put the information in all different areas.
And they're all in different spreadsheets, right? Yeah. I got this entity's assets over here in this spreadsheet, and I bought some notes with my mom. I got these assets over here in this spreadsheet. Yeah. My buddy Bob bought 2 partials, and they got those notes over here in this spreadsheet. Oh my God, which spreadsheet with John's notes in? Yeah. Yuck, right? All right. So the CRM is just, so whatever CRM you choose to use in this business, this is a beautiful part of it. It links everything together and makes it really easy. If I wanted to come over here and look at Big Investor, I don't have to go out and go find a spreadsheet with Big Investor's name in it. I can click on Big Investor here and it'll bring me over to their contact information. Of course, you can see it's a dummy investor, so there's no information on it, but there could have been the phone number, the email, whatever it was I wanted to do. Yeah. I could also email that contact right from here if I wanted to. Of course, there's no email address, so that won't work in this particular dumb example. Sure. But you get the idea, right? It's that quick.
So, as Cindy asked, what would you say to this comparison really flow? What do you see that's something that you didn't see in really flow reason you built it? And we often do that. We build things because we don't see it anywhere else.
I don't think I've used Really Flow. I've not heard of that one. I mean, I've looked at a lot of different CRMs. Be happy to do a side-by-side. If someone wants to schedule some time with me, we can
that'd be perfect.
Put them up on side and look at them side by side and figure out pros and cons.
Sure.
So you've been using the system regularly in your space to maintain all your assets. And I think to me, there's a lot of people walking in space who are software developers, encoders and so that, but they lose the feature of being the investor. And I struggle because that doesn't make sense to me sometimes, because you're constantly trying to catch up to what someone else showed you because, oh, you need this. Okay, I'll go add that. Versus, hey, I need this. I'm going to adapt it to do what I need. And you build it first to solve your problems versus trying to build something to solve everyone else's issues.
Right.
And we build our portal, right, our JKB portal, our due diligence portal, to scrape and get data for that same reason, right? Richard, we talked a couple weeks ago, is that we both did this not for the idea of we're going to make it public, but to make our business easier.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's like people saying, well, I don't have a system like this. And that's when you both and I talked about, we said, we should make this more public version of it, right? So we came out with our due diligence for that same idea that people have no way to get data. Some people have no way to maintain their assets. And as they grow, they're not in the space of CRMs and maintaining stuff. They want to do an investment, and that's all they want to get into.
Right.
And now I need something even just as automated to just take that off their hands.
That's right. Yeah. So agree with everything you said there. At the end of the day, I don't disparage anybody who says, hey, I just want to make it custom. Great. I'm that guy. I like to go tweak the system and make it better. Right. And if that's you, don't think that I'm saying you should use my system, because that's the wrong answer. Right. I'd be happy to sell you my system and you can go customize the crap out of it and make it better and all that. I'm not married to the way I've done it. I've just done it to make it easy. And now I'm making it available to others so they don't have to waste their time investing in tinkering if they don't want to.
Yeah.
Could somebody take the one that you've tinkered and further tinker it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. The downside will be if you go in here and delete the payment history field or delete the servicer comments field, guess what? The automation is not going to find that field and it's not going to push the payment history back. Right. So yeah, you're welcome to take my solution and start tinkering with it and change it any way you want. I've got people that call me and they tell me, yeah, I just broke everything. Right now I have to figure out if I'm going to invest a couple hours to figure out what you broke and why and how to help you fix it. My preference is
things that we struggle with is this idea of we need to make sure our system's built to be able to get servicer data, right? The pay history, the notes that we going on with the asset. I love the fact payment history is involved in this because you need to know this. If you're going to try selling the asset or running any kind of data on the asset, that's immediate knowledge that you need to know about, right?
Well,
so I think for me, that feature right there is worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to go through all the different features I've got. One of my big customers asked me to put together a tape generator. So basically, he hits a button in his system and it generates the tape of all the assets. He sells a lot of assets every day, right? So he basically marks the assets that are for sale, hits the sell button, and it kicks out a tape, which then he sends off to his investors, right? So that's, again, you can do that out of any CRM. You can do that manually. You can export everything into Excel, and then you can delete all the columns and format everything. Why not take something that's already functional if you don't want to invest that time yourself?
Yeah. So Nathan, I know you use Pipedrive. We built our own stuff internally. What are some things in Pipedrive that are not in Pipedrive that you see here that's something beneficial?
I don't keep track of the pay history like this. I think that's a great feature. Mostly though, that may be something I want to incorporate going forward. Mostly up until now, for the pay history, I'm not keeping too close tabs on it because I'm not holding it long term.
Yeah.
So I would have it performing for a few months and then resell it out. So I wasn't really concerned if it performed for 12 months because I didn't own it for 12 months.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on how twitchy you are for your business, right? If you want to know what's happening right away, it's nice to get notified every day that something changed. So payment came in, payment didn't come in, right? To have that knowledge. But that again depends on how fast response you are on the business. If you don't really care and letting it sit and ride for a few months, and then you go check on it, then you don't need, you can just check on it when you go to the servicer site.
So how do you break this out? Let's go back to like the assets tab. Just to see kind of will that give us a summary of the different assets?
So the first view is we can actually go to a different space. go to my business.
Okay.
So you'll see my business live here. So the high level front page summary will give us how many assets I have, how much money is invested with which LLC that's owning the business. You can see Keen Funding is my biggest LLC right now. I've got a lot of money pulled out right now, waiting for the crash that doesn't seem to want to happen. But I'm ready to reinvest. If we look at just the assets view, let's say we want to dig in and manage my portfolio, we'll come over here and we'll see probably that I'm a little delinquent. Yeah, what is December 3rd? I'm a little delinquent in following up on my assets. Things are pretty stable. But you can come in here and you can see they're ordered by date. So Elkhart, I needed to check the listing on PaperStack. I was selling this property on PaperStack. Needed to check the listing October 20th, right? Damon Avenue, also check listing on PaperStack. Chino Valley, I need to contact the servicer. This is a performing loan. Everything's running great. This is just the high level summary of the assets. I can see this quickly. And when I'm in there, high twitch mode and making changes on a regular basis on my assets, this table is where I spend most of my time. I click on each one of these assets and work my way through.
Oh, that's very cool. And then for any emails that have come in on this, you say you keep that separate. So if it's Gmail or Outlook or whatever.
Yeah. So
and then you make notes in here.
So sorry, you asked about emails and then notes. You mean comments?
Comments.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So absolutely. So the comment section over here on the right will show the timestamp and who made the comment, the timestamp that it was made, right? So I can see quickly who's in here making comments, who's making changes. You can see next step and follow-up date has changed pretty frequently for a while. You can see I'm Mr. Systems in here. Then you'll see John Bork, who's my LLC partner on this asset. And you'll see my wife, Christine Harvey, in here. And you can just see we're going back and forth on different things that are happening. Here's a comment that he made April 2020, right? And so this allows us a running history of what's happening. I'm not clogging the form up over here with the details on it, but here's my running history on what happened on the asset over time. Okay. If I wanted to send an email, it's as simple as clicking this email button. It'll pop up a form and I can draft an email out. The comments though, so this is the primary method for storing comments. It's all over here in this window over here. And you just type in, this is a comment, right? Yeah. And hit enter. I'm not going to do it since it's my live site.
Sure.
But that's the basic, I think, did I answer your question there?
Yeah, I think so.
So you also talk about accounting, right? How was accounting put into the system to kind of run the numbers later?
Accounting, like bookkeeping?
Yeah, bookkeeping. Is it entered to here?
Yeah, no, I spent a lot of time working on integration with QuickBooks and another accounting package. At the end of the day, I think the value, accounting is a complex topic.
Yes.
Right? It's non-trivial, double entry accounting, right? The accountants think it's easy, but for most of us, it's not so easy, right? I decided not to track accounting information in the system here. I use QuickBooks. My accountants take care of all that stuff. I update my bank statements and my QuickBooks online portfolio monthly, and everything else just flows through that set of software.
It's good that you say that, because I've seen a lot of programs out there that try to integrate accounting into it, and it really doesn't do justice, because your QuickBooks is not a simple, easy program that can be developed. It looks nice and pretty, right? But it's not as simple as everyone makes it out to be.
Right.
Plugging into a program like this that's not built to do that, right? It's a CRM. It's not built to do what accounting features are. You got to let the email do the email job, let the accounting do the QuickBooks job, and let the CRM do the CRM job.
That's right. Now we can do reports, right? And we can run automated reports, extract data out of QuickBooks, extract data out of the servicing site, mash it all together, and have a page that's got a bunch of pretty charts on it. If a customer wants that, I could probably put that together in 3 or 4 hours. I typically charge $100 an hour to do custom work like that. No problem. That's easy enough to do. I don't have a standard offering that just, I've backed away, honestly, from QuickBooks, just because that is an amazing tool. And I pay my accountant a lot of money to keep it up to date, right? Not so much these days because I don't have that many assets, but when I had a lot of assets running, that was, that's their day job. It's what they're good at. Why would I reproduce that here? Now I've seen guys try, and I've seen some decent hacks at it, but yeah, you're
No, I
right.
agree. I keep it totally separate. So I've got, like you say, CRM is what I'm doing every day, all day. The accounting, if I'm doing it right, I don't ever see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't stand accounting. I would rather have needles in my feet.
And you can pull up your profit and loss statement in QuickBooks, right? Your balance sheet real
That's
quick. You can scan through it. You can figure out what's going on. If somebody wants me to extract that and shove that into Podio in a form, no problem. I can stick a picture in there, know, pretty quick. But again, that's just customization. It's easy enough to do.
Yeah, but I agree. They're two separate animals, so treat them separate.
So I know that, a lot of people are going to start asking about pricing and whatnot. And, it's hard to come up with a price that makes sense for everybody. I understand, right? But
pricing is really straightforward.
Yeah, what can people expect with pricing here? And can you break down what each package offers?
Yeah, sure. So I try to make this really simple. So I'm not into, I've got a day job. I make good money. My note business makes me good money. I'm not trying to make a fortune off of this software. If you go look at most CRMs out there, they're charging X amount per user, and they've got all these little fancy add-on fees. I don't have any of that. And maybe I should add that. Maybe I should try to be more greedy, but to me, it's not about that. To me, it's about sharing the information, making friends, right? Because at the end of the day, I make money by having great partnerships with you guys, not by trying to make 30 or 40, 50 bucks a month off some software. Of course, if I had 1,000 customers getting 50 grand a month, $50 a month, that's a nice profit. I could live with that, but I don't need $500 per customer. I don't need to nickel and dime everybody. So I've kept it really simple. Basically, if you're a new node investor and you've only got a couple assets, you don't pay me anything. Click on Get Starter. You don't put your credit card information, and you get it downloaded on your system, and you can start using it today. There's nothing stopping you from going out, logging and using it today. It's all free. It's all automated. Everything is easy. If you want to start putting your business in here, you're going to have more than 3 assets. I ask you to give me some compensation, right? 40 bucks a month is my lowest tier on that, right? And it basically allows you to have an unlimited number of assets and companies and contacts and transactions and tasks and email management, but doesn't give you the servicer integration, web capture, lead capture off the websites, automated emails and text messages, and partials management. Those features are not included in the essential package.
So you brought some good stuff. What is the web lead capture? What is the automated campaigns? Because we talk about this, and this is a really cool feature that a lot of us use different mail services to do for us.
Right. So we've all been to a website where there's a form that says put your first and last name in, your email address, your cell phone, and submit, and we'll give you a free book, right? Yeah. That's all this is, right? It basically, in the CRM, there is a contacts app. Here's a contacts app, right? That contacts app basically has a form that's exposed. You put that form code on your website, whatever your website is, right? If you don't have a website, you got to get one if you want to use this feature, right? And you put that form code up there. It's a couple of text sentences you give your web developer, and then a form pops up on your page. And that form's got the fields that you want to see, first and last name, email, whatever, right? And submit. When they hit submit, that then comes in and creates a contact in your CRM. Nothing fancy there, but it creates a contact in your CRM. The add-on that I put on that is, if you specify, if you ask for that, you can have an automatic campaign run when the new person shows up. So a lot of my customers, they collect leads off their website. The leads come in, and that person then automatically starts to get put on a drip campaign, and they'll get an email once a week or once a day or whatever the frequency is that they've got set up. And it's their new lead capture campaign that gets them interested in whatever they're doing, selling notes, buying notes, whatever it is that they're trying to do. Jamie Gateman and Chris Seveny are using it for their webcast. Justin Bogart using it for his webcast. Several folks are using it to automate their outreach.
So let's back up, because this is not a different product, but it's the same product with different feature on it, right? Yeah. So those people who are using, JetBlue or and MailChimp and all these other programs, you could remove that program from your service needs and use this system, which also has your assets in there,
That's
and
right.
do what it is, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'm not going to compete, just like I'm not going to compete with QuickBooks. I'm not going to compete with MailChimp and ActiveCampaign and Salesforce on their high-end, heavily funded email automation systems, right? This does basic automation, a series of up to 10 mails in one shot, and you can specify how many days out each one goes and which types of your contacts get them. It's a pretty robust system, but nowhere near the millions and millions of dollars that have been spent on making MailChimp and ActiveCampaign and those solutions great. If you need to have an email sent out, and then if they click on this link, send those 14 emails, and then if they do that, go over that direction. I don't have any of that built in. I've got a straight shot through up to 10 messages, which works for most node investors that I know. Right, it's basic straight through email or text.
So let's go back to the other features and see the additional things.
So that 10 emails per month?
No, so there's no limit on the number of months you send. So basically, if we look at how a campaign is configured, let me just go in real quick and show you how that's configured. So a campaign is a couple of things. A campaign is a series of steps. So as I have an app in here called a step, and basically you could have a step that is in this case, it's a text message. It's got this information, hi, first name, it's Justin, blah, 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 right? And that message is going to get sent out when the campaign runs that step. And so then if we look at campaigns, a campaign is just one or more steps. And here's an example of a campaign that has just two steps. Step 1 fires on day 0. Step 2 fires on day 1. And so in this particular campaign, it looks like this is a new contact campaign. When a new contact comes in, on the day that they sign up, they get this first contact email, and then on day 2, on the day 1 after, right, they get a text message with additional follow-up information, right? And so we can do the same thing.
I did notice also, besides email, SMS. Can you share a little bit about that? I know it's a feature that's not fully on it. You have to use additional services, but share a little bit about that feature too, which is also tracking. And people say, what do I need to know about in this space about, text messaging people? Yeah. But
Text messaging is a big deal, right? So people, they say email is dying. I don't believe that, but of course I'm an old dude, so maybe that's why I don't believe it. But text message marketing is absolutely viable and is a way to get a hold of people, and most people open their text messages. So it's absolutely important, and we added it a couple of years ago. We use Twilio as a service, right? So Twilio.com is the service that we use. Any CRM can integrate with Twilio, so I'm not saying Podio is the only one to do it, right? So I've basically put the automation in the background to be able to hook up to Twilio and send SMS messages. As a customer, when you sign up with me and you want SMS, you request a phone number. I ask you what area code you want the messages to come from, because I can't send them from your cell phone. They come from another phone number, which is nice. If you're in the node business, you probably don't want to give out your personal number anyway. Right? So you get a number, let's say you're in the 925 area code. Well, then I'll get you a phone number in the 925 area code, and that's where your text messages will come from. Beyond that, you don't need to worry about it. The automation system runs, it sends the messages, either emails or text messages, to the numbers or to the text message numbers that you asked for it to go to. When they reply, it goes back into the system, and so it goes back into their contact and notifies you that their contact made a reply. And so then maybe I should show you an example. Let's do that real quick.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted. It was like someone's asking a comment, and we'll follow up with a question.
No, it's good.
So I'm just trying to get clarity on what the question he's referring to as well.
Sure. All right, so here's my contact in this system, right? And so you can see I've been playing around with it over here. But let's say the automation ran and sends them an SMS. I can also just do it manually here. And my phone number is over here. Yep, it's going to go. So this will send a text message to the phone number of the contact, right? And That phone number happens to be mine, so my phone just went off, and you probably can't see it, but it's there. And if I come in here and reply, that message is going to come right back into the system, usually within a couple seconds. But the dialogue all happens right here inside of the contact, right? And when we were talking about campaigns a minute ago, if the campaign had sent a message out to Richard McGrew here, that, I don't know why I haven't come back in yet, but if the campaign had sent a message out and they replied, the reply would come back in here to their contact, and I would get notified that reply came in. That way I can come back in here and I can continue the dialogue just by typing SMS : and sending another message to them. This allows me to stay engaged and keep all that contact information directly inside of the contact with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they reply, though, just making sure to clarify, they respond to the system, or you also get it in the app, or how does that work if you were sending a message to me and I respond through the system, they respond back that number? How does the person you sent it get notified that I responded?
So there's the response there. I just typed in reply on my phone, so you can see the reply came back in. And so this
does
was an
that get
SMS.
sent only to the app? Does that get sent to your notification? Does that get sent to your cell phone? Is like, hey, I got a message?
It gets sent to the platform. The platform then, if I'm on the website, if I'm sitting here talking to you guys, I'm on the web, I will get a little indicator that fires off up here showing there's been a notification, a change. I can click on that and I can find out what happened, right? In this case, it was somebody else, but because I've got so many contacts inside of Note Rules and Podio. But I don't know if I'm answering your question. If my phone also vibrates every time a contact comes in, and so this basically I get notified both on my phone because I have the Podio app turned on and also notifications turned on. And I get notified if I'm on my browser because I have the browser notifications turned on within Podio.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's pretty good. But the notification is just a general notification, or does it specify text?
So the notifications will look like this. So here's on the browser, you can see that this is a notification that Justin Bogard commented on a contact named Denise. I probably shouldn't show that on the video here, right? But the bottom line, these notifications are always, because I have so much going on in Podio, I get thousands of these notifications, and I can turn them off, but I'm working the business. So, but the average investor, someone like Justin, he probably gets 10 or 15 notifications a day, depending on how active he's interacting with his clients and outreach folks.
So yeah, awesome. So let's disconnect from the share screen. Just kind of talk a little bit more about this. I think for me, that the common investor says this is overwhelming for them, right? One of the common questions that came back was, someone was asking, Eric was asking about API for this. I'm not sure what they would need. Why would they need an API? Because the API is already set up for this, right? I'm not sure.
So
maybe I'm not understanding, but they said, is there an API for this? I wouldn't think you would need an API.
Yeah, so let's talk about APIs. So for those of you that don't know what an API is, it's basically a programming interface, application programming interface. I use APIs all the time with Podio and other third parties. That's how I hook them all together. I'm a software guy, right? And whoever just asked you that question is a software nerd just like me, right? If you're educated on how to use APIs and you want to use APIs to interact between Podio and or servicing sites and or whatever, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to sit down with you and figure out if there's some way we can work together. I can tell you what I'm supporting and what I'm doing, and we can go back and forth. There are a million options, and I have no idea which question you want me to answer, so I'm probably not.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, for those who are confused what API means, it's just basically an automated system that allows you to pull data and send data from one location to another, right? But this is more of a receiver of information versus a provider, right? It's not sending information out unless, maybe it exports data to a servicer, but usually, that's what email does and whatnot. But usually it receives the information from all the different sources. So yeah, absolutely. So Eric, feel free to reach out you know, what you're looking for, maybe you need more clarity. So reach out
Yeah.
to Richard and ask questions. So this is awesome. So Richard, I think that your system not only does certain small stuff, but it also does the bigger things and systems that allow people like us who are looking to do more networking and resources and service or data, stuff like that, but also
Right.
starts a beginner to say, listen, where do I have, what information do I need to get started? You know, I need my service area information. Okay, I need to get that information. I need to know the UPB. It's asking me for it. I must need to know it for some reason.
Yeah.
So the basics are there, almost like a checklist.
And that's the
people.
nice thing about the asset form that's put together in the system, right? If it most likely the fields, I can tell you the fields that are there are the ones that folks have asked me to add, and that I've been negotiating for 4 years on removing and adding, trying to make that form as simple as possible so that it can be filled out as quickly as possible, but have enough information so you're not always having to go back to that damn fireproof safe to find the asset file to find out what that value was, right?
Yeah, and I know in a couple of months, once our due diligence platform is built, we'll be talking to Richard about how to import and get data from our system, which will also use APIs, of course, and be gathering data and then send it to the system. We'll be talking to Richard in the next few months once we get that up and running and get some stuff going on.
You know what? We didn't touch on document generation, and then not many of your audience are probably that interested in this, but if you're
Yeah,
buying and selling notes, you have to generate a launch and note and mortgage assignments and all those different things, right? And you can do those, you can send those off to a service, and we all know guys that will do it for anywhere between 20 and 500 bucks a pop, depending on how, you know, how educated you are and how to find those folks. If you're doing it on a regular basis, you know, whatever that frequency is for you that becomes painful, it starts to get painful to wait for the guys to send you back the documents. It starts to get painful when they make a mistake, you got to send it back and go back and forth. And so I put in automation to be able to generate those documents for you automatically. Now you have to give me the contracts. I'm not going to give them to you, but once you give me the documents, I can have them put in the system. And then you literally click one button and the document gets generated for you. It gets generated as a PDF. At that point, you can send it off and get it signed. If there is demand, I have the right signature done. I have the integration with right signature completed. I haven't rolled it out as a feature yet, but it's pretty much done. I can use it myself. So basically I can have the documents sent out to somebody, have them signed and passed back. And now I have a legal signature, just like DocuSign, right?
cool.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
not many of you.
So it's awesome that you feature, you know, there's a ton of features here, not just a simple CRM program, give you document creation, and that's good for personal sales, good for assignments. It's good for anything, because once you get a system set up for a PDF, you can automate and create any document you want.
That's right.
The SMS is awesome, right? If you're looking to reach out to, don't reach out to borrowers with it, but you can reach out to different people, you know, colleagues of yours, email chains like that. And I even thought about doing SMS for us because of the way we run our BPOs and how we changed the way we do things. It's a feature I'm looking at doing, but it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
very
know,
cool.
I know that a lot of people are gonna have a lot of questions. I know that we're techie guys versus the other side of those who are, I think Cindy said, like, technology gets in her way of organizations sometimes because she just need tech, but she doesn't understand it.
Right.
And a lot of people out there like that. So
For those people, my system is really built for the lesser techie people. I've tried to keep it extremely simple. I've not added a lot of bells and whistles. Most of the lesser techie people will never touch my campaigns features, and I don't think they should, right? Campaigns are a whole other world. If you want to get into sending email and letters and postcards and all that, I've got it all automated. It's easy to do, but there's real work there to figure out how to make it work and how to make it hum. Even if you're going to go get MailChimp or Salesforce or anything else, CRM sending automated messages is an investment of time. But if you're just managing a note portfolio and you're not super techie, my solution's great. It's done. You don't have to go create anything. It's fully functional and it's simple, right? And that's the key. I've purposely made it simple.
awesome.
Very cool.
So we're gonna be reaching out to Richard after this interview. For those who want to know, we're reaching out to Richard, and we're gonna see if we can get this special discount for those who are listening. See if we can get a special in for the first month or so, and see if we can help out and get you started with this, because you may be unsure if this is for you or not.
Right.
and we're gonna see what we can work with Richard and see if we can get to for you guys. So
Got it.
Richard, I appreciate you jumping on a Friday afternoon with us. Hopefully, I know it's a little early in the morning for you, which I think mornings are our thing where we're at. So
That's awesome.
feel free to let us know if you have any questions, guys. Reach out to us directly, shoot us an email. You can reach out to Richard as well through the site, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, very good. Thanks so much, Richard.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
You bet.